So it's been a few days now since the Fred Whitton challenge, and I've just about recovered, almost gained a full feeling in my legs. And if you want to see my ride experience video, that's linked down below and up above in case you missed it. But today we are going to geek out on my bike and my setup for the event, and a change I made to ensure my bike was as ready and prepared for the event as it could be. And in this video, we'll talk about a really important question for anybody doing a hilly, gran fondo or sportive, of what's more important, a lightweight bike or low gears. We'll talk about that in a bit. So let's dive in. So by now, most of you are familiar with my custom Giant TCR Advanced. I actually pulled up in the car park next to somebody on the same frame as well, and I had a nice chat with him. I forget his name, but hello, hopefully you got around okay. So a really good frame to start with, pretty lightweight for the money, about 850 grams for a size ML. And it's a perfect bike for an event like this. I like the racy geometry, nice low front end, nice and stretched and comfy for the 7 hours I was on the bike. And then great handling on the descent and loads of stiffness for climbing. So the frame was absolutely first class. As you can see, I have the number on the head tube placed there because I had no space with a computer and GoPro out front there. And on the top tube, the notes for the route. So where your climbs are, the feed stations, really useful to know if you're not doing an event to have something like that on the top tube or the stem, and also very pro. I opted for the NV45 wheels because, well, they look amazing for a start, and the aero, and pretty lightweight for the aero performance as well, and a nice wide broad platform and tubeless ready for these Pirelli tubeless tyres in a 28mm width. Now a lighter wheel set might have been better on the climbs when you are trying to overcome gravity, but aside and in between the big climbs on the Fred Whitton challenge route, there are lots of flatter and undulating roads, and we were going along at some speed, in some places 25 to 30 miles an hour, where the aero performance of these definitely helped to minimise the effort required at those higher speeds. So the wheels were a good choice and bomb-proof and no issues at all, as were the tyres. And just before the event, I put that new Silka Ultimate tubeless sealant in the tyres, and no issues, no punctures or anything like that. And I'll do an update on that sealant in a few weeks' time. Now, let's talk about gearing choices and weight, which are two really important topics when preparing your bike for a hilly, gran fondo or sportive like the Fred Whitton challenge. And what's more important, a lightweight bike or a bike with low gears? Well, both in a perfect world, but for me, I had to choose one. Now, as you know, I have the SRAM Rival ETAP Axis group set on this bike. Been using it for nearly a year, and I'll do a long-term review on it soon. But it's a group set that has been flawless in the time I've had it. But the one big Achilles heel is the weight. There isn't a lighter weight group set in the world. And this bike, with these power meter pedals, a saddlebag with all my essentials, and a computer and bottle cages, but no bottles, weighed about 8.5 kilograms on the scales. I know some of you will be saying that's too heavy, how can you get up climbs on a bike so heavy? And you're better off on a bike that's 1 kilo or 1.5 kilos lighter than this one is. But I reckon low gears are more important than weight, and my experience of the Fred Whitton, in my mind, proved that for me. So on this bike, I had a 46-33 chain set on the front and a 10-36 on the back, a 33-36 lowest gear. For comparison, a typical road race bike would have a lowest gear of a 50-34 up front, so a compact chain set, and an 11-30 on the back, so a 34-30 low gear. So for me, I had a low gear that enabled me to ride up some of the steepest gradients on a Fred Whitton challenge. And clearly having low gears enabled me to ride up some of the steepest climbs on this route, while many around me were walking, probably a result in some cases of gears that were simply too tall for their fitness and for their ability. And that's a problem with road cycling. We do buy and mimic what the pros use, but the pros are vastly fitter than us. So here I have gears that suit a real world rider with normal levels of fitness, enable me and allow me to ride up climbs That's ultimately more fun and rewarding to ride up than to admit defeat and have to walk and even take your shoes off and walk up the climbs. Now, there's no shame in walking up a climb. We've all been there, we've all done it. But part of the challenge for any climb like this is to ride it. So having gears that enable you to ride it are clearly better than a bike that's lighter, that probably won't help you as much as lower gears. Comfort is really important, clearly, for any long ride, especially one when you're going hard and fast and some really savage climbs. So I'll be using that specialized Roman mirror saddle, the 3D printed saddle, as a shape that works really well on that sort of ride when you have the ability to move around to different positions, like right on the nose when you're going up 33% gradients, and then back on the base for really kind of hammering along as fast as you can. And after 7 hours in the saddle, I had no discomfort down below. I mean, there's lots of pain in my legs, but down below was all good. So that saddle, I can highly recommend it for comfort. Definitely an improvement towards the end of a long ride over other saddles in my experience, even using the same more or less shape. And then up front, the Zip Service Course aluminium handlebar with supercast bar tape. Now, for an event like this, when you are doing lots of climbing, I like to ride on the tops, and having a round diameter handlebar suits me better than a more aero handlebar. Those aero handlebars are great when you're in the drops or on the hoods, but when you're on the tops, they're not as comfy in my experience. And I was definitely using that position a lot on some of the steeper, longer climbs. Now, if you watched some of my videos last week, you know I made a few upgrades and updates to the bike in preparation for the Fred Whitton. And the first of which was the ceramic speed bottom bracket. And I'm glad I did, because I had none of the creaking I had the week before. And it definitely spins more freely and smoother, but whether that actually made a difference to my performance, I don't know. But it's a psychological benefit, a placebo perhaps, so I'll definitely take that. The other upgrade was a new chain and the use of that Silka Super Secret chain wax, and the drivetrain was really quiet throughout the event. Even after 112 miles, there was no noise from it at all. And boy, was I glad I was on hydraulic disc brakes for this event. Now, the downhills weren't super fast or super long, but they were very steep and very technical, with some very tight hairpin switchbacks and a really bumpy road surface as well. So you really had to keep your speed in check and stop yourself from going too fast and getting potentially out of control. And we did see a number of people, sadly, I hope you're okay, get into a bit of trouble. Now, clearly you can get down fine with rim brakes, and lots of people did. I just personally prefer the feel, the power, the one finger braking control of hydraulic disc brakes for that sort of riding, and I had no issues with them at all. No noise, no squealing, no rub, no fade at the bottom of the descent when I was dragging them for minutes and minutes at a time. None of the issues that Chris Froome and others have mentioned in various videos here on YouTube. So for me, a real no-brainer. No downsides, it's all positive for me. And then the last few details, because details are really important when preparing your bike for any hilly, gran, fondo or sportive, included a saddlebag well equipped with spares, so tubes, multi-tool, contact lenses and other bits and bobs, a computer up front for recording a ride, getting the power from the pedals, which we'll talk about in a moment, and also uploading to Strava afterwards for kudos, which is the whole reason for doing any ride like this. A GoPro up front for recording the action for a video here on Just Ride Bikes, a pump on the frame. I used a one bottle strategy as encouraged by James, and it worked out really well. I refilled it at every feed stop and had no issues there. And the last detail which I really benefited from was a power meter, here in the shape of the Wahoo PowerLink pedals. Now, I know power meters are an expensive upgrade and a luxury item for many people, but having power, if you know your power range, is really useful for doing a hilly ride like a Fred Whitton. I was able to ensure I was riding within myself on the climbs and not going too deep, especially at the beginning of a ride when you're feeling fresh and eager and keen. It's so easy to go too hard too soon, and having the power numbers on your computer just keep you pegged back from going absolutely balls out. And then on those steep climbs, you can really see where your power is and just ride in your sweet spot and make sure you can maintain that effort all the way to the top. So for me, a power meter, not essential, but very, very useful. So that was my bike for the Fred Whitton. Nothing I would change really. A bit lighter would be nice, but I don't think weight would have made much difference in my time at the end of the day. The gearing choice was definitely a thing, and a comfy saddle and a bike that just works and rides really nicely. Anyway, if you haven't seen my ride report from the Fred Whitton, then check this video up here. And if you want to see a video on this bike, then check it out right here. And don't forget to subscribe by hitting this button down here. But that's all for today. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you again very soon.